Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of New York, the show of new wave music, U2, The Cure, Depeche Mode, and wine. Today's guest is the wine director at the Corsha Group here in Austin, Texas, Paula Rester. Been in the industry a long time, a really down-to-earth, wholesome, some call her a wine mom. She's intelligent. She loves wine. She loves hospitality. We talk about a lot of different things. Talk about music, of course, but we also talk about the stiffness and the snootiness that sometimes comes along with being an advanced, a master sommelier. So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this chat with Paula Rester.
I was kind of more of the new wave kind of kid. I think, more of that, Cocteau Twins. Like
Depeche Mode, The
Cure.
New Order. That still stands up, though. Depeche Mode, I'll dive at that. Yeah. Still stays. Cocteau Twins, I don't know as much. Well, but The Cure still stands up, right?
Oh, yeah, always.
Totally.
They're still touring.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Smith kind of looks like a hot mess. I think that's a good word.
A little bit, yeah.
Which I
kind of love. I have come to expect that from him, so that makes me happy.
That he looks like a bag of makeup.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right? He kind of does. I love him, and I think he writes great lyrics, great melodies, but he still looks like a bag of makeup.
I want him to dye his hair blue, and then he'll look like, the woman that falls asleep in the opera, like with his pearls on.
The girl from Are You Being Served? Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah, exactly. From the BBC, yeah.
I think that's the thing that's happened to Steven Tyler. As you age,
amazing,
you become very, very, very reminiscent of my aunt. It's so strange. I don't know why that is. Those guys they're so focused on being thin and gaunt and emaciated.
A little gender blur, yeah.
I guess so. Was The Cure, was that your band, or is there another one that was you mentioned the Cocteau Twins?
Yeah.
Is it more them or?
I actually got into them, I think, a little bit later on. I think if I had a band, I was, I'm a little embarrassed to say now, but U2.
Oh, really?
I think was
but that's
I was
brilliant. War Days.
They were kind of my band.
What would you like about U2? And not that we talk about the early stuff. It's insanely good.
I think just the righteousness that that you can certainly relate to. I think as a teenager when you're having a lot of impassioned feelings about things, and the fact that they were political, and I mean Bono was a great singer and
still is
a great singer, and
do you see the word twat's not thrown around loosely, but for some reason many people, British people, like Bono's such a twat.
Yeah.
Why is everybody so pissed at Bono now?
I don't know.
You get it? I don't get it.
I think once you get that big, there's always going to be a little bit of
the backlash.
The haters. The haters don't hate on you too.
Yeah, they're still writing good songs. I mean,
and his daughter's a fantastic actress. Have
really?
You seen her in The Nick?
She's in The Nick with Clive Owen?
Yeah.
What is she in?
She's phenomenal. She plays the nurse. I can't remember the character.
Really?
Yeah.
How old? So I know of The Nick because I love Steven Soderbergh, but I haven't been able to watch it. How is it?
It's very good.
Is it good?
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of the unsung shows on television right now.
Man, and Clive Owen, I bet he kills
Amazing.
I've got a crush on Clive Owen.
Well, that's okay.
I think most people do.
I support this. Yeah. Yes.
Whether it's Croupier, which is a great one.
What is a great film. Yeah.
Really makes you want to drink vodka out of the fridge.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of movies that I see. I'm like, I could use a
and feel
vodka
totally
out of the
fine about it. Yeah.
Totally fine. So would you say that, because we were talking a little bit earlier and you kind of had this background in drama, were you ever on the musical side of it too?
Yeah. I would perform in some musical theater. Certainly, I went through a period where I was into kind of singing jazz and sang at a short-lived kind of club here in town.
Yeah.
And did a lot of vocal performance in choir, and loved it. Yeah.
What were you, a tenor or an alto? I mean, I guess
like
I'm a guy, so I don't have
alto, soprano, alto. Kind of. Yeah, definitely. I was told years later that I have the tonality more for like a mezzo soprano, but because I had the ear to sing harmonies, which were difficult, I would often be put as an alto.
Really?
Because I could always hear, that I could not follow the melody, but follow the harmony.
So you had good pitch.
Yeah,
it's just some people pitch. Like you hear them sing, you're like, I don't know where you learn not to sing.
I had good pitch. I don't know if I still have it.
Did it run in the family?
Yeah.
Like people being musical or having good pitch or singing?
I think my father had a good voice as well.
Really?
Yeah, my mom loves to sing. And we'll just leave it there. We'll leave it. I used to beg. She would sing in the grocery store. She'd like quietly sing to herself, and I'd be like, "Don't sing, Mom. You're embarrassing me."
No, I
do it. But she's still she's like she might be where I get my love of karaoke from, because she has a joie de vivre about the way in which she approaches
That's amazing.
Her singing, which I encourage.
Unapologetic.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice. So when did you get back into town? So all I know about lots of people is what Facebook tells me.
Oh, great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's real good. Real accurate
Which
stuff.
Which is really carefully edited. Either that or it's like way too much information.
Yes.
Like, that's really personal.
You broke up with that dude again? Not you, but random female or guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you're going through a breakup again. You don't need to tell me about this. You're eating 2 pizzas. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't need to know it. I promise.
That's what my breakfast looks like.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little guilty of. I can say I will take some pictures of some food occasionally.
But food, you can go back and look and say, man, that was a damn fine meal.
Yeah.
There's something
or taco.
Nice about that.
Was
Even a taco. Any level. Crudité, taco. Sushi.
I have close feelings about tacos.
I think a lot of people do.
I got back into town when did I go? I'm like, what's
pretty recently
today?
Right?
It was in early October.
Okay, so a couple months now.
Yeah, and I had the luxury of taking a little bit of time off before I started my new position with the Corsha.
Yeah. So we'll have to talk about that, because I talked to Jason quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully Jason will be on the show. He's quite busy at this time. As we can all expect from a guy with a hat and a beard. Those guys are always busy. So I've heard. So that's good. So I knew a little bit about you as being one of the creme de la creme of wine knowledge of hospitality in Austin, and then you moved. So I think right before I get a chance to actually talk to you and meet you and all of this, you moved. So we're make up for lost time now, which is nice.
Yay!
Definitely good. Yay. Definitely good. So you are born and raised Austinite, Texanite, or did you kind of
born in Fort Worth, Texas?
Fort Worth.
I went to high school in Arlington.
Okay.
Came down to go to college in Austin.
UT.
We won't talk about what year that happened. And then
that was the next question, so I'll
And then I've lived in other parts of the country, other parts of the world, but I've always kind of considered Austin to be home.
It has that feeling.
It does,
It definitely does. I've been here about 15 years, which isn't too long comparative to some of the other people, but there's something nice about it. It's got everything that you would want. Good people, good food, good booze as well.
I can bike trail.
That's right. I can be healthy and unhealthy.
Brought to you by the Austin Tourism Board.
Well, so what was it? So you talk about musical theater and jazz singing, which I presume maybe came a little bit later. But what kind of stuff were you doing in Arlington when you were in high school? Were you doing drama then as well?
I was, yeah. I mentioned I was doing, I was in choir and doing vocal performance, but I was a part of the drama club and did lots of shows and did the UIL competitions.
Amazing.
And really got into it and was with a really good, creative bunch of people, many of whom have ended up in creative industries here in Austin.
No kidding.
Which is
Do you keep in
exciting.
touch with many of them?
Yeah, I do. It's
so
fun.
cool.
To have kind of this group of people. Keith Hoare, who founded Rhythm Foods.
I'm not familiar, but
really fantastic person, lives here in Austin. Aaron Day, who's Mark Schilling's partner in Revolution Spirits. We all went to high school together.
No shit.
And we're all ran with the same crew. So it's kind of fun that
is crazy.
We've kind of all ended up in the same town, kind of in similar association.
What's that saying about flock together? Sheep something?
I don't. You tell me.
Sheep flock together.
Something about people flocking.
Mother flockers.
Yes.
Something of that nature. But doing the whole acting bit in Arlington and kind of being imbibed with that creativity and that lust to perform, did that put you at a crossroads where you're thinking, wow, I may want to go? And of course, you end up at UT doing drama and stuff, but is there that dichotomy between, well, should I move to New York to pursue drama? Should I move to LA to pursue drama? Did you experience any of that?
Yeah, I did actually, and in fact, I moved to New York.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The first time.
Okay.
Many years ago, when I was doing more acting than participating in the role that I'm in now.
Yeah. And that was after we'll stay clear of dates if you want. But you finished up with a drama program at UT.
And then I had a local agent here in town.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And
was there a bit? When you graduated UT in drama, was there a film and drama industry the way there is now?
It was beginning, like the beginnings of it. Not so much as there is now, which is fantastic.
Right.
But Texas was a right to work state, so more Robert Rodriguez was really shining a light on the kind of talent that we have here in the state of Texas, and so people were beginning to come and film, and
it was just starting to percolate.
Yeah, so it was just kind of starting to percolate.
Yeah,
and
But you still felt like there are more opportunities in New York, which I mean, I guess there always will be more acting opportunities in New York.
Yeah, I thought it was important just for my personal growth, but my growth as an artist as well, to kind of live in different places and kind of expand your horizon and.
Method living.
So I moved to New York and worked like a million jobs, like everyone does.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there for very long. And
about how long?
Like maybe 4 or 5 months.
Oh, okay.
And then I had like a little life kind of threw me a curveball, and I had both my stepfather and my real father were diagnosed with cancer
at the same time, like roughly the same time.
And so I moved back to Texas.
Yeah.
And kind of assisted in their care until the end of their lives. And
what kind of cancer was it? Hopefully it wasn't the same.
Yeah, my dad had colon cancer. My stepdad had multiple myeloma, which is a bone marrow cancer.
Wow, it's like wow.
So that was intense. That was a little intense part of my life.
When you grew up, kind of explain to me. Did you? At what point, kind of, did your folks split? Where you didn't see your father as much,
I
probably.
was maybe like 12 years old. Yeah.
And so you had probably a good relationship with your father at that point too, and then your stepfather at some point your mom remarries, right? So you're close to both of them, in other words.
Not so close with my real father. I think that there was some turmoil kind of in that relationship.
Yeah. Well, at 12, I can't imagine.
Although certainly that was resolved by the end of his life, which ended up being a fantastic gift and an unexpected one.
Do you think that was the
very
impetus?
close with my stepfather, though?
Would you imagine you grew up more with your stepfather?
I think he would definitely played like a stronger parenting role, even though he came kind of a little bit later in life. So. He was a stand-up dude. I like
stand-up dudes.
Yeah.
Not like comedians, but like stand-up dudes. Yeah. They're very, very good,
He was great, yeah.
But sometimes, and I'll share something, and I don't talk about this too much, but so I've never met my father. Mm-hmm. And I suspect that a terminal situation such as colorectal cancer, which I think, is that the same as colon cancer? I don't want to...
I think
it's
so,
roughly the same thing, right? That kind of situation might be the impetus to rebuild and repair a relationship, So I imagine in some kind of weird, eerie, or dark way that ended up being a good thing, because you guys could start spending time with each other, I guess. That seems maybe right.
Yeah. I mean, I think I mean, I think as always, it's the individuals that are involved and the choices that they make. So we made it into a healing opportunity, and I'm very grateful for that.
It's pretty good. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily seize those opportunities. So I imagine, I hope it's not inarticulate, but presumably you lost them both?
Yeah, I lost them both within the same year.
Oh, wow.
And I think by that time, I think that my life had changed like a little bit, and I was looking in different directions and kind of really meditating on the meaning of life and where I was going and what I wanted to do.
It's got to be a maelstrom of emotion and just trying to figure out what direction's up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be safe to say I was a hot mess for a long time.
Yeah. What? Yeah. How did you cope with that? Like, 'cause I mean, music for some, film for some,
Yeah, family. I thought family was a really fantastic resource, and writing for me, like doing lots of journaling, and I think was a positive kind of outlet for me to kind of grapple with kind of some of those heavier emotions.
Get it out there too, right?
Yeah, and making a decision to kind of leap into the restaurant world with both feet, where you kind of have these built-in families, places where you work, I think was also a really, really positive thing for me.
And so was this in Fort Worth or Arlington when you came back?
When I came back to Austin, I started working at Uchi.
Oh, okay. So, so when is that where your family was at that point when you moved back from New York?
They were actually, they were in Arlington.
Okay.
So my family was living in Arlington. So while I was there, I was working in Dallas. I worked for Stephen Piles.
Oh, okay.
As a captain in one of his restaurants. And
how was that experience?
Fantastic group of people.
Yeah.
It was really great for me. It was fun. It was definitely, Dallas and Austin are so different.
Far different.
So it was kind of a fun foray into Dallas fine dining, and Stephen Piles is a lovely, lovely man. And
did you ever? I mean, did it ever feel like somehow you were selling your dream short? And I think that we, as of happenstance, those are the opportunities. We just walk into them and then we seize them, right? So you're working for a restaurant, fine dining restaurant, as you say, but stepping away from, I presume you were pursuing acting in New York. And it was still somewhat of a passion, but did that have to get sidelined while you entered the hospitality industry?
Honestly, it didn't feel like a letting go of a dream.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like a very natural, intuitive shift.
Interesting.
I guess.
Like a progression.
Yeah, I think so.
What capacity were you working at the restaurant? Were you serving, cocktailing?
Yeah, just straight on serving as a captain. Yeah, but I had been in management roles before.
Yeah.
So when I came back to Austin, I knew like I wanted to manage in a restaurant, and I knew I wanted it to be Uchi. So it was funny because I remember walking in and being like, I want to work here and I want to manage, and they're like, okay, lady. But they were very kind.
Leave your resume in the
I had
door.
but I had a great kind of series of interviews, and I about 3 months later they called and kind of had a position available for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
this I think
really blessed.
Fair. What year was this?
2008. I want to say.
Okay. So Uchi has some stride.
2000. Yeah, 2008. Yeah.
Amazing institution for sushi for one, but also culinarily in Austin.
And great, and it's become a great place for, I think, training Austin hospitality professionals.
Yeah. How was that experience for you?
For me, it was really good. Yeah, it was a great one. I loved the cuisine. I mean, best family meals ever.
Jeez. Yeah, don't make me
great
hungry.
Shift meals. I was working with people who were very self-driven and really wanting to execute fantastic performances every single night.
Yeah.
And
it is like
it was really inspiring.
It's interesting. An ensemble cast.
Yeah, very much so.
You think about it, like analogous to a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, just to put it that way. Like, right? Lots of cast, lots of people leading, but it still has to have this wonderful cadence between everybody. And so, you were the one orchestrating a lot of that.
Yeah. Right? I think with the
kind of like a director in a sense.
Management team. Yeah, absolutely.
How long were you at Uchi then?
I think I was there almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I left to actually work. And it was there that I kind of really started to get interested in wine and study with a court of master sommeliers. And I left to work for a distributor for Serendipity Wine Imports for a year.
Oh, cool. In Austin as well?
Here in Austin. And kind of explore that side of the industry. But it wasn't very long before I kind of felt the call of restaurants kind of beckoning back to me. And I've always really loved being in a restaurant. And
do you think there's an element to service and hospitality and helping people that is performing? Not in a non-earnest way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
totally,
I think in
right?
an authentic way. Well, when an authentic performance as an actor, you're drawing from very real places inside of yourself, and I think it's the same is true of service. They're absolutely, yeah. I do see it as a performance and being on, and even the build up, like the time of night. It's the same evolution.
It's strange. There's a denouement, there's a climax, there's all of that, right? Because as you're wrapping up and a few customers are left, but most of them left for the night, that kind of things are kind of settled, It's like, all right, the bad guy got killed, the good guy persevered, and there's
we live to fight another day.
That's right. Yeah. That's great. So was the distribution gig, you just needed to get back in it and with the people firsthand?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I discovered a lot about myself, as a salesperson, kind of out into the field working for a distributor, which is that I don't like being in my car, and I don't,
was like 80% driving and 20%. Talking to people.
That's to people, and sometimes selling things that you might not necessarily believe in. So it was. It was. I found it to be a little bit more challenging to the way in which Paula is made.
With this internal conflict, maybe.
Yeah, I really, I love the sense of kind of having a space and coming to every night with the people that you work with.
Yeah.
And, having it be more of a team effort.
What is it?
That's kind of
your marks. You've got your marks.
Yeah, you got hitting your marks. Yeah, every night. Yeah.
It is very
having your script down.
That's right. It is. I mean, it's more loose than that, and it's obviously not as preconceived necessarily or constructed, but there is a performance there, and it's almost improv every night, right? Because you get the same players, but you never really know how the customers are going to be or how service is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So where did you head after the distribution gig?
Oh gosh, where did I head after I didn't know this was going to be This Is Your Life. I can't remember. I don't know where I went.
Man, 2008 was a great year, right? No, I mean, we could go take it more generally. When did Smash Mouth come out?
Yeah. I hopped around. I think I hopped around a little bit. I worked at Vino Vino for
really? Okay.
a period of time. I think a lot of wine people kind of gravitate towards Vino Vino because they have such just a fun kind of eclectic selection and little niche spot in Hyde Park. Jeff Currington's always been great about letting people kind of pop in and work a handful of days here and there, if he knows they're hard workers and they're educated and passionate about wine. And I think I did that for a while, and then I worked as an opening captain at Congress.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And worked
good
there.
Good crew there.
Yeah.
From what I understand, there was a massively influential group then, like in the cocktail piece. I favor towards cocktails because I've got gray hair and all that. I'm not particularly nuanced.
I do too. Yeah. So it's all covered up.
But this is the thing. So this is an interesting point. So at some point, I became passionate about spirits.
Mm-hmm.
I dabbled in wine, not wine production, but understanding the varietals and production methods, things like that. But then mezcal happened, and then my mind went a whole nother way and started thinking about how to do this in gin and all this stuff that we make at Genius. But for you, what was it about wine that had this allure for you? Because it's a very rich thing. There's lots to learn, but particularly for you, why gravitate towards wine?
Well, I don't come from a wine drinking family.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first bottle of wine was a bottle of Riunite Lambrusco that you can, when you can buy in the grocery store.
That's
and
right.
Like the jug with the screw top in the 80s. And I was like, this is delicious. It's like, tastes like kind of Kool-Aid.
Yes, it's so sweet.
So sweet. But through working in restaurants and through exposure to different kinds of wine experiences, and actually I remember exactly what the bottle of wine was, where I was like, this is different. Like, there's something really exciting going on here. Was a bottle of Travellini Gattinara. And Gattinara is this tiny region in the Alto Piemonte part of Italy. Wines are made from the grape Nebbiolo. And Nebbiolo is kind of interesting because when you look at it in the glass, it's kind of translucent, like Pinot Noir. Although they can certainly be done in richer styles, but it's an intensely aromatic wine. It really speaks to the place from which it comes. Like,
so it's no interference, like a nice direct gateway to the soil.
And then it's powerful at the same time. It has these really kind of aggressive tannins. So it's this it's kind of a head trip. For me, it was really eye-opening, and I almost felt like what I was smelling and tasting in the glass was taking me to the place that it came from, but it was also a place that I had never been. I had never traveled to Italy.
But did you feel like you'd somehow set foot there a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, it became a very magical experience, and I was like, this is fascinating. I want to drink more of these kinds of wines, and I want to learn about this and why this tastes this way, and that's really kind of what catapulted me on that journey.
And it never ended. I think it never ends.
I think
right?
It will never end. Yeah.
It's
always something. It's kind of an unconquerable discipline. There's always something to learn.
Right? No matter how esoteric or how mainstream, there's always going to be something to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing with food, is especially the same way. And there's so much similarity between a well-constructed piece of sushi, even and those balances of flavor there, type of water, type of ingredients, vegetation, all this, and wine and spirits. Now the spirits gets a little tangled, and I'm sure wine does as well when you add flavoring and coloring and stuff like that, and even cognac. But in its purest form, it's something very remarkable that it can be so natural.
Yeah.
So the thing that I don't understand, and hopefully you can help me out with this. So I know of a couple, shall we call it, degree programs for spirits, right? So there's Bar 5-day, and then you can get a master's in bar. I don't know exactly if it's called Bar Masters, I think, actually. But for SOMs, what's that pathway look like educationally and in terms of certification? Where do you start? What's that first kind of remedial, if that's the right word, level of certification you get all the way up to Master SOM, which I presume is the highest?
Yeah, well, I think that there are as many kind of organizations for vocational training for being a sommelier as a profession, probably as there are in the spirit world.
Oh, really?
The one that we hear about probably the most in the state of Texas, and we're also seeing it kind of now in other kind of parts of media. Film Somm came out, and there's a show on the Esquire Network called Uncorked now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's the Court of Master Sommeliers, and that is the program that kind of I've chosen to study under. And
would you consider that kind of like the prestigious, maybe the most reputable? Because I have not a lot of context as to the various ways you could go through it, but
I think that probably it's for me, it's the program that makes the most amount of sense for what I do, which is sales and service of wine on the floor of a restaurant.
Right.
I think that there are others that are maybe more suited to kind of a career of writing or academia.
Okay. Yeah. But not necessarily application. Yeah. That's when you talk about it, I mean, you're executing a particular vision, passion, not strategy necessarily, but you pair somebody with someone, right?
The most important thing, I think, in terms of your education is just simply being in a position or a job and finding that kind of spot where you can taste as much wine as you can. And that's the true path of the sommelier, I think. Yeah. And, like having worked in New York this last year, there are so many fantastic sommeliers that that don't have certifications or haven't gone down these routes to be able to practice kind of what they do, and they're just as wonderful.
Is it expensive to do the certification?
It is. It's kind of a financial commitment.
So maybe that's part of it too, right?
Yeah, I think that could be a part of it.
You don't have. You play on a secondhand acoustic guitar because you can never afford something better, even though you're brilliant, right? Great talent. But.
Yeah, and I think that some people test well, some people don't. This is a program where you advance by testing. So
written test.
Written. There's a three-part component. There's a written portion, a theory portion. There is a service practical.
Interesting. Okay.
That's kind of submitted to you by the Master Psalms in the group, and then there's a blind tasting portion as well.
The most fun part, I'm sure.
So yeah,
maybe daunting as well. Yeah,
very daunting. Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, I think that there's room for everyone to play. There's room for everyone at the table.
Yeah.
But in terms of finding resources for information, I think that the Court of Master Sommeliers is really unparalleled and really trying to train knowledgeable, ethical restaurant professionals.
Ethical is a great caveat to it, because you do have to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're looking at a career that's based on longevity, that has to be a part of the conversation in the game.
So what is the highest level of acknowledgement or degree?
Would be for this particular program be the Master Sommelier PIN.
So you're a master sommelier?
No, I am not a master.
Oh, okay.
No.
But are you? That is on your. That's in your sights, though.
I don't know. I don't know if that's in the cards for me.
What does it mean to somebody like career-wise being a master sommelier? Does it is much like a master's degree, let's say, which is a little bit less, a little bit more worthless now, I would say, to some degree, but
I think it can definitely be a career maker. I think that I think people can pass tests, but maybe struggle kind of finding where they fit in within their professional world. So I think it just really depends. Yeah.
Yeah, I always think about that. Because I don't know. I love producers and I love the process. I love talking details and whether it is wine, beer, any of that. I find it particularly interesting. I haven't noticed, and maybe this is just because I'm being exposed to the wrong people, and this is not an indictment by any means, but there seems to be, for some, an immense air of arrogance for master somms, and I don't know if that's because it takes so much work to get there that it's a nice pedestal to stand upon, or what. But do you think that's a big challenge for maybe the PR of somms, that to make it accessible and make sure that people can understand wine without it being something that's so exclusive to them?
I think there's a large part of the wine community that really recognize that as a perception and as a problem, and are vigilantly fighting.
Oh, that's great.
Against that, because the time and the devotion to learning the minutia and learning the information, I mean, it can certainly, you do need, I think there's a tendency to maybe tap into parts of your ego to kind of drive you along in the pursuit of that knowledge.
Absolutely.
And certainly there is a competence that's required to be able to share information with your guests. You want to earn people's trust. But it is a fine line, I think, to walk. And I think it's important to be vigilant in the remembrance that this is a service industry, and that, our number one job and commitment is to the people that we're serving.
Not ourselves.
And not ourselves, yeah. And to me, the best sommeliers, whether at any level, master or otherwise, are those that have the ability to listen and to engage with people and to be willing to hear what they want, and sometimes to be able to pull out of them or help them find the language to describe what it is that they like and what it is that they're looking for. And
they're an enabler, a teacher.
Yeah, and this is something that can take time and can mean, longer time at a table. It can mean, that you develop a relationship with a guest that comes into your establishment over a period of time, so that you learn their interests in there. So I think it's definitely a commitment. But I know, I see a lot of shifts happening in the wine scene. I'll give you a really basic one that I think is fantastic. When I first sat my first level with the Court of Master Sommeliers, so there was a request that we address people as master.
Interesting. Okay.
And that has since changed, and people are asking us to call them by their first names.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah, it is. Changes the dynamic completely.
That's something very small that does change the dynamic and changes the conversation, I think, drastically. So,
do you think that and I think that's exactly it's wonderful to hear that, because we're all in this industry, whether we're producing, selling, distributing, the majority of us are working hard, and we're working hard for the right reasons, presumably, And so this is not a competition about whose dick is bigger, and I'm just going to put it that way, because that's what it feels like. Right? It's like, I'll go toe-to-toe with somebody if they want, and wine guy versus, you know what I mean? Like, we'll do that, but what's the point of all of us enriching our education and enriching the experience of the category and customers if we're going to be like that? So it's nice to hear that there's active initiatives there to try to level that out and kind of sway it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, like any industry, there are going to be some people that maybe aren't on board with that idea yet. Right. But I think, the best thing to do is to just try and lead by example and and have really great conversations with your staff about how you want guests to be treated and how the language that you would like for them to use when they're talking about.
Because you certainly will see more success for everybody if you can empower a customer or empower someone that's being served with the knowledge.
Yeah, don't get bitter, get better.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Wow, I'm gonna write that down. Don't get better, get better. I like that. That's going into the foreword for the episode. Brilliant. Soundbite. Well, so since we're talking about wine, and I'm blank pages. I'm totally open to learning as much as I can. I've been sipping this wine that you brought.
Yay.
And wow, it's lovely. Because it's to me, it's you know what? I don't care if it's indelicate. Like, I don't know what tasting notes are in wine. I can do that with spirits, But like, this is a particularly, it's kind of dry, kind of salty. It's got salinity to it, But it's really, really mellow and very, very balanced. So what am I drinking here?
So I brought for you. I feel very special because I know you don't have a lot of wine people on your show.
That's shame on me. Shame on me. Yeah.
So I brought you a wine that to me has a lot of spirit-like properties.
Yeah.
This is a producer called Jean-François Ganava, and he's working in a part of France called the Jura. And this is a part of France where Burgundy meets Switzerland. So it's kind of an alpine region.
Yeah. Cold.
Cooler climate, yeah. So their growing seasons tend to be really long. They're harvesting in as late as sometimes as October. And this is a Vinjaune. So just quickly translated means yellow wine. And what's so exciting about this wine is that, like sherry, this wine is fermented and kind of has properties that are oxidative and kind of shows.
Yeah. Does it have that cap on it too, like sherry does?
Yeah. So it kind of it ferments under a layer of yeast, very similar to flor, not directly related to flor.
Okay.
But there is that kind of exchange of oxygen and slow exchange of oxygen, like you see with flor in cherry production. So. Yeah, so it's fun. It's got some kind of nutty washed cheese rind, more savory characteristics. But then there is some freshness of fruit there. There's kind of like you're biting into like the the late apples of the season.
Yeah, very crisp, kind of tart, slight tartness.
Yeah, so I thought this would be kind of a fun one to bring for today. And it's in a really cool, you mentioned the bottle shape.
I love the bottle,
It's this traditional bottle shape that you will only see in this part of the world called a clavelin.
That's amazing, because it's a 375?
62 centiliters.
62, which is even, I don't even know how to, what it something 0.63 ounces. I don't know exactly. It's a beautiful squatty bottle.
It's a fun squatty bottle,
Yeah, and the wax top on it too is really cool.
So they make a lot of great cheese in this part of the world.
Oh, do they?
Called Comté cheese.
Comté,
yeah. So this is a traditional pairing for Comté cheese.
Oh, man.
There's also a really special bird that comes from, it's a blue-footed hen called a Bresse hen that comes from this part of France, and they're kind of prized all over Europe. And they will cook the hen in this Vinjon wine.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite a delicacy.
I imagine. What's the main chicken dish? Coq au vin is what I'm thinking.
Coq au vin, yeah. It's like a old rooster cooked in red wine. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the opposite. A little bit more delicate.
A little more delicate.
A little bit lighter, nuttier, and all that. Well, it's really brilliant. It's a really. I dare ask that if I can pour some more.
Yes, please.
So all right.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Why? Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. I love getting to physically stand up to pour. It's like part for those of you that are listening, just give it a second. I'm just gonna stand.
Just a moment. The sound of glass.
We got this nice little stack here, and we get some Calvados too that we'll have to try as well. But so the experience at Congress, that's where I came to know of you, and you kind of were building a name for yourself, and I think people they revered you as someone that was very accessible. Like that's what I get right now. It's like I don't feel diminished or like in some way talked down to about wine, which is a great thing, because now I'm more open to it, and I'm going to ask you all these questions, and I'll have you spell it out later.
Lay it on me. Yeah, I'm here for you.
And it's a great thing. I mean, that's the kind of activation is a word for it that I think we need for spirits and for wine alike. But what ultimately was the impetus for you leaving Congress? Because that's when you went to New York after that, right? Is that right?
Yeah. I left Congress the first time I left to go be a GM over at Vino Vino.
Okay.
That was really my first experience as a wine buyer, and it was a very good learning experience for me, and kind of prepared me for the position that I took when I returned the first time. When June Rodil left to go work for Paul Key, I took over for her in the wine director position and was there for 2 years. I always felt like I kind of came at things at a little bit of an odd progression. I started managing restaurants, and then I got into wine.
Interesting.
Then I became a wine director, but I never really had an opportunity to have an experience as a floor sommelier.
Tell me, what's slightly the difference between the wine director and a floor sommelier?
I would say that one is more of there's a huge administrative part of the job. I was also managing the Restaurant Congress at the same time, and kind of acting in a dual role.
Okay. Hands are full.
Yeah, so my hands were full, and in some ways, I didn't really have the time to be devoted to solely wine. And I also knew that if I really wanted to learn about wine and about how wine performs over long periods of time, that I would need to move to a part of the country that had kind of more relaxed blue laws and had lists that were more dynamic and had vintage depth. And so it was kind of a risk on my part. I was like, this is crazy. A lot of people think that I will be insane for giving up. Because
you got a good gig, right?
Yeah, I had a great gig. And
good notoriety. People look up to you. They consider you an expert. All these things are going for you.
But in terms of my own personal education, I really felt like there were pieces missing. And I thought about it long and hard, and I realized that I was willing to let go of all that and take a step down and not be Paula Rester wine director or whatever. Just to be able to work for someone who I knew did what I did, but much better.
Wow.
And so I began a conversation with Union Square Hospitality Group that culminated in a job offer to work at their restaurant Maialino in the Gramercy Park Hotel under Jeff Kellogg, and I saw him on his floor and left, and it was
wow.
It was scary. It was exhilarating.
It's an amazing pursuit, though.
I didn't,
because think about it. Like, what reasons do people leave their job? They're unhappy. Well, that seemingly wasn't the case.
Yeah,
they not making enough money. We won't even have to talk about that, but that's seemingly not the case either.
Mm-hmm.
You are truly an academic trying to expand your wealth of knowledge. It's the pursuit of knowledge is why you left ultimately, right?
Yeah. I just, I felt, I knew that if I really wanted to get better, that I kind of needed to flesh out the parts that were missing.
Yeah.
And
that's what Bruce Lee would do.
Yeah. Yeah. With a gun.
Yes, that's right. As good as my hands, give me a knife, and then we'll see.
So I just, I feel really blessed. I think that they're a fantastic group to work for. I learned a lot.
Was it
much of which prepared me for the role that I'm in now, that I came back to kind of take
was it what you expected it would be? Was it more difficult? Was it
was
easier?
I knew it was going to be difficult. There is nothing like a New York busy season in a very popular restaurant.
Right. Yeah. I can't imagine.
So it was a little, it didn't, I wasn't surprised, by the challenges, but what was surprising to me was the sense of family that I would find there.
Wow.
Because I think, you hear so much about how hard New York is and how rough, and for me it was actually it was a pretty soft landing.
Really?
I worked with
you'd been there slightly before though too, right? Maybe you had your feet
it might have been like a
there.
little bit, but it was definitely easier to kind of find my way around. But there was a good 10 years kind of between when I was there before, and the city had certainly changed.
Right.
But in terms of having a fantastic company culture, no one does it better than Danny Meyer. And
speaking of which, real quick though, so with the Danny Meyer thing, he's the one of basically getting rid of tipping. Is that kind of the movement starting with him?
He's one of many. I feel like he's getting the most
because he has the notoriety
press on it.
Yeah, he's the one that's in the press about it.
There was this thing that happened this year called Shake Shack and going public, and he's been on the cover of Time. So there is a large group of I feel like they're some of the great industry leaders and about what will happen in restaurants and how to make them viable and successful and profitable for all members of their staff, and
it's
the
just a
kitchen
different model.
Especially.
The record industry is going through the same thing. If you think about it, it's like, how do you still make money? They're doing it by just raping the bands. That's what major labels do, unfortunately, those 360 deals. But it feels like the restaurant or the hospitality industry is having a nice introspective phase of which they're reevaluating if this is the best way to do things.
Yeah, we're kind of having a moment, which is exciting. So because he has been a leader in the industry before, I think that there is a large group of people kind of making this change in the state of New York, and it's very well thought out. It's very well planned. It's
not just a turnkey. It's specific. It's strategic.
It's very strategic. It's coming at the time. The time is right. It's the minimum wage is about to go up.
Yeah.
They're embracing a European model that's existed for years, and they're adding kind of a credibility, I think, to the service profession.
Which that's great, because a lot of those people
by making these changes. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you think about the level of expertise and education that they've had, but being that experiential time, like, because yes, you can spend 4 years in college, but what can you do, right? And actually being out there and doing it and interacting with people and learning about food and wine and all that, somehow that's more valuable to me.
I think so. New York's having a cook crisis right now, just the same as the city of Austin.
Yeah.
Being able to pay cooks a wage because you have a restaurant model that's built to support that, I think is it's been needing to happen for a long time. So when you wrapped up, it's interesting.
It is. It's a very interesting time. A lot of new things. La Vie closed, Meadow closed.
Yeah,
just as
so many closes. Week. Congress closed.
Yeah, but that was for expansion, though, wasn't it? For a second.
Yeah, but I think It was for expansion, but I definitely think that you can feel a little bit of the death of fine dining happening, and you feel it in all parts of the country.
Really?
It's so interesting. 11 Madison Park today, 3 Michelin stars, leaders in the service industry announced that they will be shifting what they do from like a 14-course tasting menu to a 7-course tasting menu. And they will be embracing minimalism. Gone are the days of the garnishes and these elaborate plate ups and this certain style of dining, and that they want to change the conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is prevalent. This is what's happening. People want to drink good wine, and they want to have really good beverage experiences. They want to have really well-made cocktails, but they want to do it with great food that's not spendy.
Yeah.
They don't want elaborate experiences. They want
to the point,
invigorating atmospheres.
Interesting. So more ambiance, the experience, than the specific kind of like display, the aesthetic, maybe.
Yeah, I think maybe maybe not so much white tablecloth and a little more rock and roll. This is kind of like
it's interesting, and I kind of feel like there's a different, maybe it coincides with our ability, the tech era or the tech generation, that we can get things in a non-nuanced way delivered to our phone or delivered to our house at any time we want for a specific number, for a specific detail, 140 characters. So like everything fits into this exact beautiful, very detailed, or rather not lack of detail, but something that's really easy and bite-sized and easy to digest. And so maybe that is the absence of frill, maybe that's what's happening.
There's also this kind of embrace of this idea of authenticity as well, and that if something is too precious or too elaborate, that it's moving away from that. I think that we see that in ingredients. Like, remember when, I think in the cocktail world as well, like when you would have, a cocktail that had 14 ingredients in it. And like it's got these 3 kinds of bitters, and
yeah. It was inflated. It was overwrought with complexity.
The conversation comes back to, okay, let's go back to using 3 or 4 ingredients, and how well made is this? Yeah, how? Yeah. The 1-4-5.
That's right. Yeah.
Concord progression.
Totally.
Yeah. So
that's what it is. Maybe a return to simplicity.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what the public wants right now. And
interesting. So it is shifting. It's an interesting time to
I
be
feel
in
like
Austin
it's shifting.
for that.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
no, I think so. I mean, I think that's it's becoming more clear and more evident in the types of places that are closing.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting time, very formative, because this is like I think it's like a tectonic shift into phase 2 of dining and cocktails in Austin, and it's really exciting to see.
I think it's fun.
I don't own a restaurant, so it's even more exciting, a little bit less risk for me. It's kind of nice. So, did you know that you were going to accept the position at Corsha? Is that right? Yeah. Did you know that while you were in New York, or did you have to come into Austin first? And
the conversation had begun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always had one foot in the door. I left a foot in the door.
Right. That's strategic. That's
Congress,
good.
And I formed really great relationships there, and I knew I would maintain them no matter where my career took me.
Yeah.
So it seemed very natural that I would come back when they were ready for this role to begin.
And how long were you in New York the second time?
I was there a little over a year.
Yeah,
just enough to kind of steal all of Danny Meyer's ideas.
all of the ideas, all of the just all for myself, all of the inspiration, just bring it back in a big golden bucket. In a sense. Well, so describe to me, because I know a little bit about Corsha after chatting with Jason. And is this the new location that's going to be in Seaholm? Or no, or is Corsha the...
Corsha's the name of our hospitality group.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then Boiler 9 will be the restaurant that will be opening in the spring in the Seaholm Power Plant project.
What's the concept there?
I don't want to speak too much to the concept.
Sure.
I think it's like still
what do you want to bring? What are you looking to bring to it?
But I think we want to create kind of really dynamic spaces for food and wine experiences that are accessible to everyone at different price points. And so I can tell you a little bit about the layout of the space, which I think really feeds into that idea. So when you enter in, you'll enter into kind of the dining room area.
Mm-hmm.
Going down into the basement, Jason's got a pretty awesome bar.
Oh, is there a bar? Amazing.
Down in the on the bottom subterranean bar. And then there's a beautiful open space, kind of, you can look out in one direction and see the train tracks, and another direction you can see kind of the old exposed pipes and inner workings of the power plant.
Oh, wow.
That will have a space that is both covered but also open air. So
amazing.
So there will be kind of an opportunity for some different experiences there that I think will be fun.
Can you say if you think it's going to be wine heavy or balanced with cocktails?
I would say it's going to be fairly balanced with cocktails. Yeah. It won't be an extensive list, but I think it will be a very well edited list.
Concise to the point, right?
Yeah.
And you said spring? You guys are aiming for spring?
We're aiming for spring.
Is the build out done already?
We're close.
Cool.
We're doing some. We had a hard hat walkthrough recently, which was really fun, and so it's happening. It's like we're in the home stretch.
Yeah, for sure. Round and third.
You always something will construction and Austin and permitting. Something always goes wrong. So I don't want to say definitely.
No, for sure, absolutely. Do you know of any of the other concepts that are going? Because it's going to be a larger space, the C home, that ex power plant, right? There's going to be shopping, I guess, too, like lots of different stuff.
I think there are a lot of live workspaces. And some shopping, and the Trader Joe's is over there.
That's right. Yeah. It's not open yet, is it?
It is.
Oh, it is open.
It is open.
I just passed it, I think, yesterday. I was like, holy shit, there's a Trader Joe's. Where was Eater on this one? Or maybe
I know.
Usually
right
they're right there
radar.
in the front, camping out,
talking
about Trader Joe's. But that is just one of many properties, I think, or concepts that are coming to fruition for La Corsha.
Yeah.
From what I understand, have you guys formally talked about, or rather publicly talked about, the Marfa piece too?
Yeah, the Hotel St. George in Marfa. Yeah. Really exciting. I'm a huge Marfa person. I've been going for years. Mm-hmm. Is like a little fantastic getaway location, and
sure.
Of course it's become really trendy, and there's like so much going on there right now for such a tiny.
Oh my gosh, there's so much. If
I had
$1 for every selfie I saw in front of the Prada store, right. I'd be very wealthy.
I have one. Guilty as charged.
No offense, I'm just saying, like it's an iconic kind of store in the middle of nowhere,
It is. So that's in play right now, and I think it's kind of in the final stages.
That's so great.
That will be really fun. Joe Pat Clayton's fantastic beverage professional. He's kind of the man on the ground in charge of beverage there.
Amazing.
Great guy from Houston. We purchased the Green Pastures property,
really?
Which I don't know. It's if you have heard about, but
no, I haven't heard about the I mean, I know of the property, but
we'll be doing a renovation.
Oh, right.
Of that.
That's great. That's where there's a bunch of the guinea fowls hanging out, right?
Yeah, they're peacocks.
Oh, they're peacocks, okay. Because guinea fowls are raining, yeah.
I've been seeing some peacock footage in the news lately. So apparently not everyone loves peacocks. And
they're loud. I mean, peacocking is a verb for a reason.
I don't have a lot of experience with peacocks personally.
Sure.
I know they were served as a delicacy in the court of Louis XIV.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can take that information.
Sure. So you guys are going to serve peacocks. All right. Well, that makes sense, Paula.
Can neither confirm or deny that at this point. That might be our only solution. But So I'm excited about that project. I think it's just a beautiful space with a lot of history and tradition.
Yeah. It's old Austin.
It will be really fun to renovate that and bring it to the next generation.
And that's all in your purview. Like you're
all in the purview.
Keeping busy with it.
We're staying busy. We're busy building systems, I think, for growth right now. I think I'm just going to go ahead and speak for Jason and say I know that's something that he's really excited about.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Kind of falls within his passion and
well,
I as well, so I couldn't ask for like a better person to work with.
Pretty great team, seemingly.
He's such a great guy.
He's brilliant mind, brilliant palate for him as well. So with all this stuff that's going on, and you're keeping busy, you're learning.
Yes.
Do you have time to do the things that you need to do for yourself? Like maybe staying healthy, catching a movie sometimes, or are you just work?
I balance hasn't always been something that's been great for me. I think not one of my fortes. Something that I've had a lot of health problems this year, so certainly something that I'm trying to live and kind of incorporate into my life more, which is also ironically another gift. I do. I'm trying to see movies and I've become a 9-to-5 person, and this is new for me.
Because that is the role as 9 to 5, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm spending nights cooking and watching a really bad television and reading. I love my library card. Yeah. I have a NutriBullet.
We just got one too.
It's kind of awesome.
So there's a milling setting. Have you seen the milling setting?
No, tell me about this.
So it is a miller. I don't even know how you, but like that you would do to grind grain and all that.
Grind? Oh,
so Lydia made a Nutella, like a pseudo Nutella shake, hazelnuts, ground cacao with the miller, excuse me, the banana, and a little bit of protein powder. It's insane.
So cool.
It's so good.
That's so good.
Keeps you on point too.
My jam is to make gazpacho. So it took me a long time to think outside the box. So here's a true confession. I will watch the Food Network, and I'll be the person like sitting and screaming like, bring up the thermal immersion circulator, and like clearly you didn't poach that correct, but I cannot cook.
No kidding.
And I'm not a great chef.
Okay, but you know the techniques? But
I've worked in a restaurant for so long that I've become very adept at knowing techniques or how things taste.
Yeah.
Or I can, but as far as actually executing, I'm like a 3-trick wonder.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to graduate from just making like a fruit smoothie from the NutriBullet.
Gazpacho, that's a brilliant evolution.
Gazpacho, and now it's just like there's no holding me back.
What about salt? You could make salsa even.
You could. So I could be a NutriBullet chef. That might be my next calling. I don't know.
Macrobiotic.
Yeah.
So it'll be raw, right? It makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for sitting and chatting with me. It's good to hear about you and getting some insight into the wine community a little bit more, because I'll be the first to admit that I've got drunken dudes over, not literally, but I want more representation. I'd love to have June on the show. I'll ask her at some point.
She's so great.
She's been really great every time.
Knowledgeable, but also highly entertaining.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Has the best laugh. So you should totally ask her.
Totally accessible and like down to earth, and it's been great getting to know her and hearing your story and everything. Let's just rally, and thanks for sharing the wine, but let's rally around Depeche Mode and New Order.
Do we get to have a dance off now?
Well, you'll win. You'll win immediately. I don't really bring a lot to the table, as many might tell you. But it's been brilliant chatting, and thanks so much for coming in and spending this time to drink and sip and learn.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
for having me. It's
my pleasure.
An honor.
An honor.
No.
Well, I
love it that
thank you so much.
Thanks for having a wine person on. It's great.
The first of many, I hope. Well, there we have it. Another wonderful, this is a very lovely, gentle, just open, soft, great conversation with Paula Rester of the Corsha Group. I don't often touch on wine. I'm trying to get more into food on the show, talk to more chefs, more sous chefs, people who run front of house. We delve into coffee a little bit, but this is the first wine chat, and it is the first of two this week. The second of which we will drop here on Thursday with June Rodillon, a master somm who has seen a lot of different things. And there's some great stories there too. But chatting with Paul was really wonderful. It was very warm, and we immediately hit it off. It's great talking about music. And I think we all in Austin are really anticipating Boiler 9, which will open sometime here in the near future. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter what Marcus Miller bass you're looking to buy or what Blue Kiwi microphone is sitting right in front of you, please keep dancing.